Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Crypto News podcast. We are buzzing as always, coming in hot from Mexico, and our guest is coming in hot 13 hours ahead of me from beautiful Singapore. Today we have Tatsuya Kohrogi, also known as Tats, who is the Chief Strategy Officer and Head of Global Business for Digital Entertainment Asset, also known as DEA. Tats has an extensive background in sales, marketing, biz dev, and startup management. Prior to joining the company, he was a senior partner manager at the one and only Meta, managing business partnerships for the Japan market based in APAC HQ in Singapore. Tats also worked for another one and only SoftBank, ever heard of him, where he held several leadership roles in sales, digital marketing, investment strategy, portfolio management, and new biz dev. Super pumped. Tats, it's been a hot minute. Pumped to have you on, man. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Matt.
We got to start with day one here. Our listeners absolutely love the stories from Meta. I believe you might be the first guest to have had some experience at SoftBank. We love stories on the Crypto News pod. Do you have any crazy stories for us from your days at either Meta or SoftBank?
There are too many. I joined SoftBank back in 2014 before the SoftBank Vision Fund was a thing. Masa, before his global presence was big. But he always has this successor program where he mentors upcoming entrepreneurs and handpicks about 200 per year. And so he has this program where every year everyone's competing to learn directly from Masa. And what he does is he gives us like real life problems to solve that he's thinking about in real time and makes us come up with an idea and pitch for it. And so that's something called SoftBank Academia. Everyone, if you're interested in learning something about that, you could Google it. But I was part of that for 3 years. And some of the craziest projects were from SoftBank Academia as well. So that's just a quick intro, just height. Nothing too juicy, but I think that was something very unique of SoftBank and Masa as well.
Any takeaways from working with Masa? Like any piece of advice that he'd give you, or just the way he conducted business, perhaps his non-verbal communication, verbal communication, whatever it may have been. But what were the things that really stood out where you're like, damn, I gotta steal this from this dude?
Yeah, there's something so I come from the US as well. So like I have that Western background, but the Eastern management philosophy, there's a lot of things that aren't really translated in English. So, Art of War is very popular in the US, classic. I believe, with Sun Tzu, right?
Yeah, classic.
And Masa created his own version. So using traditional Chinese characters, you can Google it. Yeah, no, it's crazy.
Really?
So there's a graph. It's really good. And each character represents for like how to manage a specific situation in business. And this is something I think is very like underrated. Like not many people know about this in the Western world. And I see on their SoftBank group page recently, they've been posting a little bit about it online in English. But some of these management philosophies coming from Masa is very unique and I think worth looking into if any entrepreneurs or even business people, right? If you're interested in that, that's something worth looking into.
Interesting. And Meta was the Eastern Meta similar to the Western Meta where, very sought after graduates are getting jobs, working pretty hard for 6 to 12 months and then just mailing it in forever and just using the company for the gourmet breakfast, lunch, dinners, free gyms, massages, the whole 9 yards. Were there any similarities in that?
So, I was in Meta during the COVID period. So I was in Meta for a little over 2 years. So it is probably different from pre-COVID.
Right.
But yeah, definitely the perks were amazing. Like once you leave, you understand how like valuable like the food is, right? And the facilities and the people and the culture are very unique. But I'd say, depending on the regions, it's not that different. It's very open to culture and diversity and inclusion as well. So each office has a different taste if you go travel to each different parts of the countries. But yeah, definitely like SoftBank, Meta, Facebook, very different cultures, but both was very aligned with, I personally believed in mission-wise.
One, again, I could be incredibly wrong on this, but I heard a crazy hot take once about Meta and why they give so many perks to their employees. and also why they pay so much. And it's not even so much about employee retention. It's just to bring the taxes down, because obviously, the more you spend, the more expenditures you have, the less taxes you pay. Again, don't know if that's true, but like it could sort of make sense if each employee is, getting the equivalent of $80 a day in food plus their $350,000 salary. Like, what do you think about that?
Honestly, I'm not in a position to talk about it. So like, I don't know if that's the strategy or not. It makes sense in a way, but yeah, I think it's more to do with taking care of the employees as well, to make sure like everything's there.
Yeah, keep everyone happy. No, I feel that. Let's jump into crypto. Let's start with fundraising. Now, you guys raised 10 million US dollars, 10 mil greenbacks from LA-based LDA Capital, and that was during a pretty, tumultuous time. How could you sort of speak about the fundraising challenges in a crypto bear market or crypto winter?
I mean, yeah, this is like overall macro, not just crypto. I think it's pretty tough. It's still tough market right now. So, we've been fundraising for a while, and like even then we had to pull back a bit, restructure on how we approach things, and VCs are pulling out, and depending on the region too, with the whole FTX incident in November, like a lot of the global investors were impacted directly. The crypto investors are impacted directly. So a lot of those investors, are pulling back, and everyone's kind of observing. While, how we were able to approach this was that, we have the traction, we have the revenue. So we're lucky in the sense that we're still able to get the traction from investors based on our actual revenue and traction.
Another super interesting thing that you and the team have done at DEA is the market expansion, just like a crazy penetration into Asia. This is something that I've always been so curious about, as someone who has very little experience with Asian business. How do you penetrate that market? Because with the massive, sort of glass giants, as they're called, these huge conglomerates that, like the WeChats, that just have so many verticals and they're so powerful. Like, how do you get in any capacity? Any stories, tips, tricks, piece of advice? Like, how did you guys do it?
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to our co-founders as well, and their track record and their experience. So one of our co-founder, he goes by Goro. His first name's Naohito Yoshida, but he's a 3 times serial entrepreneur, IPO'd 3 companies in the Tokyo Stock Exchange.
Jeez.
So he's an entrepreneurial veteran, so he has that network as well. And also the other co-founder is, he goes by Kozo, and Kozo Yamada is his full name. But he has experience in the entertainment industry, over 15 plus years working for TV Tokyo. And so those two combined had that experience and network from the beginning, which kind of gave us that edge. And DEA has been around since 2018. So when blockchain was first being conceptualized as like, okay, crypto, DeFi, cryptocurrency, that's when Goro was thinking, okay, well, if we can actually earn real money in the games we play, and like how amazing will that be, was like his very simple thought process. And 2 years before 2018, the chairman of Sony, ex-chairman, Mr. Ide, he was the one telling a lot of the entrepreneurs in Japan at the time, like, go into blockchain, study it, because that's the future. And that was 7 years ago.
This was the ex-chairman of Sony who was saying this?
Yes, ex-chairman of Sony was telling all the Japanese entrepreneurs at the time, look into it, do it. And really not many of the people took his advice. But Goro looked into it. And at that time, Japan's regulations were very tough to create a token project, mainly on the taxation regulations. So the only place to really do it at that time in 2018 was in Singapore. So right. He came out, created this token project with Kozo, and ran with it, developed, and we released our first game titles in early 2020. And that's kind of the history aspect of it. But like how to penetrate in it, I think it helped that, we had the founders with the existing network in Japan. And because they came from that entertainment and creative industry, we had this network of like anime and manga creators. And in Japan, anime, manga is huge, and globally as well, it's big. So I think that was one of our big entry into Asia, as we had that edge of anime and manga creators working with us on our platform.
Before we get into a more, specific and dialed in approach on micro Japan. Anime, it's so powerful. Me personally, I've never understood it. It's just something that doesn't really tickle my fancy. I totally get it. I have friends, from Toronto, Canada, who absolutely love it. And I get it, but I don't. Like, can you, and this is such a tough one, but what in particular really gets the Japanese people going about anime? Like, what is it? If you could just sort of distill it to a couple different things.
Yeah, I mean, I think I can say it's not just Japanese people; it's global as well. Like half the anime industry is made up of global revenue right now, but Japan has very deep roots in this like manga, anime, artistry, craftsmanship historically. So I mean, we're all visual learners. So instead of just reading text, seeing a visual like comics, right? Like reading comics as a kid, we like to see the visuals, see the words, and intake story that way. And in the States, growing up, reading comics is kind of like a children's thing to do, right?
Yeah.
And like in Japan, though, like a lot of the themes are even adult themes or, higher education topics or tough like finance education topics will be written in the anime/manga style. So I think it's just the adoption, and every kid in Japan at one point wants to become a manga artist is something that one of our co-founders is saying. But it's true. Like we all draw, we all grow up with it, and we learn through manga. So I think being Japanese ethnicity, growing up in the States, I read a lot of manga as well and watched a lot of anime to input Japanese. So I think culturally it has a very significant part to it. And because it's been translated and shipped out globally, a lot of the global audience is really latching onto it as well.
That's so cool. Thanks for that. That really did help. I feel like I got a little bit of a better understanding now. Let's jump back into Japan and crypto. Just like you said, a couple of years ago, Japan had some of the tightest crypto, blockchain, Web3 regulations on the planet. It was nightmare fuel doing anything building related. And it pushed a lot of incredible teams, firms, creators out of Japan and over to Singapore and, Dubai and the other places in the world that are much more lenient and have much more open rules, laws, and regulations. But recently, Japan has been a leader in loosening these rules, these regulations, and a lot of that has to do with sort of the, token project taxation and listing regulations. And I'd love if you could speak to this and just sort of let our listeners know what exactly, Japan is doing to be a front runner in the space.
Yeah, it's strange because everything just kind of flipped last like H2 of 2022. So the past couple of years, a lot of the project founders that left Japan to create token projects have been lobbying with the Japanese government and, our co-founders as well. But someone that's been very vocal and has been kind of the face of Web3 Japan has been Sota Watanabe. He's one of the 30 under 30 for Forbes, founder of Astar. And the dialogue has been going for years. And FTX happened, and everything that's been discussed in Japan regulatory-wise, slowly they're like, okay, we need to make sure we don't fall behind compared to like how we did back in like Web 2. So the government has created a party to really work with this. And the biggest part was the taxation regulation that I mentioned earlier as well. That cleared a lot of hurdles. There's still another big one as well, which is auditing firms. So the auditing regulations, there's still hurdles in that in Japan. But what's another big news for Japan is that the big gaming companies in Japan are coming in. So I think it's been a big news past month, or when in beginning of the year, Square Enix released the announcement about how they're implementing blockchain as one of the core strategies in their business. So regulations are loosening up and large corporations are coming in and testing Web3 technology, blockchain technologies, and also funding is coming as well. So one of the government-funded largest telco company, NTT, is creating a $4 billion fund to enhance the infrastructure for Web3, like wallets, infrastructure, and just everything in the space. So
4 billion? Billion with a B?
4 billion, yeah, with the USD.
Jeez. Wow.
So I think, we need certain things in place for an industry to really start growing. And that's like funding, regulatory support, and corporations coming in to build. So it's been, small startups and entrepreneurs rallying for it for the past few years. And slowly we're seeing these regulatory funding and large corporations onboarding into the blockchain space. So yeah, 2023, we're going to start seeing a lot more interesting use cases coming up, I think, in Japan. So before we're way behind, but now I think it's given Japan an opportunity to lead the way.
Wow, that's crazy news. Like, again, perhaps I just gotta get back in the game, but like, man, oh man, I didn't even know that. Like, that should have been on every massive reputable crypto news outlet. Like, that's big news. A $4 billion influx of funds is that state owned or is that private?
It is state owned.
Right.
So it's a public company, but the government backs it. It's the biggest telco company in Japan. So if you type in NTT fund for Web3, I think it'll come up. But
crazy.
That was just announced last year. But big news,
Crazy. Let's jump into you guys. Now, the name sort of says it all. Digital asset entertainment. You guys do a whole lot of everything and specializing in, Web3 decentralized game development. Before we get into the weeds and into the nitty gritty, give me a very quick overview of what you and the team do and what you guys are working on at the moment.
Yes. So right now our core business is the GameFi platform called Play Mining. And we have multiple games that are live that are all blockchain play to earn games. And we also have a metaverse business called the Play Mining Verse, where we have creators co-create worlds with the community. So these two entertainment businesses is our core business right now. We have a utility token called DeepCoin, or ticker symbol DEP, DEP. And that's the single token. And that is a token that's used within the Play Mining ecosystem. So these three are like our core business in a sense, managing the token economy and creating games and creating worlds.
One thing that when I was doing research for the show, I was like, whoa, this is crazy. The buyback program. You guys have a world-class buyback program that stabilizes the token economy during volatile market periods, literally like right now. Tell me about this DP, the DEP buyback program. Why did you implement it, and how do you make it stay afloat? Like, how do you keep this engine running?
So to clarify, it's new. We just announced this in the beginning of January, and so we haven't really done the buyback yet initiative, but we've implemented this to make sure that we can create a sustainable token economics for play and earn. So I think play and earn, like X to earn in general, is a big boom last year, and we saw likes from Axie to step in, and we saw the pump and then the crash as well. And industry-wise, there's a lot of sentiment like, okay, play to earn is not sustainable, and X to earn is not sustainable. There's no sustainable model for this. But we're doubling down on it, and we believe that the play to earn model is the future. And so I think that's just a counter narrative to a lot of other narratives out there as well in GameFi. So it just depends on who you're targeting and what kind of games you're doing too. But going back to the buyback program, we announced that up to 40% of like cash fiat revenue we get, we will buy back our tokens. So it'll be deflationary in that way. And so it'll give an opportunity for the community, investors, and players to get that profit back, right? And the return on investment in Deep as well. So it's just one mechanics that we're implementing in the token economics. And there's just other elements we'll be implementing as well to make sure that we can keep growing the economy as a whole.
It's it's so interesting. And I was sort of, going through the paper and the buyback. It's just, there's so much FUD with anything that seems, I don't want to say it's too good to be true, because it's not. And obviously you guys are showing where the funds come from, but just with the whole FTX, Luna, with every other crash that happened, 99, almost 100% of those came from greed. And again, this isn't something greedy. It's just, it's nice. It's refreshing to see a buyback program where you guys are showing how the consumer is getting their kickback. You know what I mean? Like, it's refreshing. Yeah. A lot of the time it's like earn 6% interest we're not going to tell you how you get it. This is like, it's laid out for you flat, you know?
Yeah, so I want to make it clear as well that because we have a token project and we sell our NFTs in our token, a lot of our revenue comes in with our deep coin, but we are implementing fiat payments as well into our in-game items and NFTs. So with our deep coin purchases, it's not gonna count towards the buyback incentive, the pool. Majority of the max 40% of the buyback pool will come from all the cash revenue coming from the company. So it's balanced between the both and looking at the market situation and stabilizing the market with the token price as well. So that's something we still got to figure out and work on, but I'm excited for the program.
Tats, we're going to take a quick break. Got to give a huge shout out to our sponsor of the show, Prime XBT. And when we get back, we're going to talk about how play mining is decentralizing the game development process and how the Web3 gaming industry will help bring Web3 into mainstream. Until we get into that, huge shout out to our sponsor of the show, Prime XBT, longtime friends of cryptonews.com. We love them. They are incredible people who have developed a robust trading system for both beginners and professional traders. It doesn't matter if you're a rookie or a vet. You can easily design and customize your layouts and widgets to best fit your trading style. Prime XBT is also blessing the listeners of the Crypto News pod with a huge promo. The promo code is CryptoNews50 to receive 50% of your deposit credited to your trading account. Again, that is 50% of your deposit credited to your trading account. And the promo code is CryptoNews50. And now back to the show with Tats. Let's go right into play mining. This is the gaming arm that is decentralizing the game development process. You guys are empowering creators. You guys have a multitude of games, and there are tons of problems sort of with the traditional creative IP industry. It's way too centralized. All of the top-down narratives, all the fun and all the cake goes to the boys and gals at the top. There's very little innovation. You guys are making moves in the space, moving and grooving. I'd love to hear more about this.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt, for mentioning that. Just to give you some context, our play mining ecosystem consists of 3 stakeholders. The creators, we have the investors/gaming guilds, and we also have the players. So these 3 stakeholders are all in the ecosystem. And I think what's unique about the play mining ecosystem is that we have creator empowerment initiatives where we have 100+ famous anime manga creators. And recently, not just famous, we have community fan artists that have been voted to create NFTs on behalf of us. So one way of decentralizing the content creation process is that we bring on these creators to create these characters in-game for us. And the community votes, okay, the creator created 4 prototypes, A, B, C, and D. Which one do you want to pick? And they'll have like a initiative where we have a Discord chat with the creator live answering questions and everyone's voting. And the one that gets voted the most gets picked. And the creator will receive royalties. And also we do upfront production payments as well. So we pay for them to create it for us, and we also pay them royalties. So this is something like a new model that's not traditional in gaming, I believe. And I think we're one of the only projects that have 100+ of these famous Japanese artists in our network. And yeah, we're proud to say we paid out royalty of over 9 million Sing dollars, which is close to over 7 million USD in the past 2 years. So that's
How did you get all those artists on board?
So we just contacted them from our production team and also from existing networks from the very get-go of our development phase.
Like that's like, those are some big boy numbers right there. That's not a walk in the park.
So I think it's interesting. I got to talk to some of the creators in person in Japan recently, last year as well. But they're very excited about this process of like Web3 game development, co-creating, right? It's a new experience. And what's been a game changer for these creators has been that global reach. So a lot of these creators can only speak Japanese and have been limited to the studios they work with. And, I talked to some of the artists that made some of these famous monsters, but, years down the road, they don't get any royalties for it. So even working now to recreate these characters, they're not really incentivized. They want to do something new. And another creator episode case study has been, she's a teacher, but she does drawing as a hobby. And she started playing our games and she liked the characters. So she created a fan art and posted it on Twitter. And then it went viral in our community and it was shown to our CEO. And right away, they decided to do a collab. And within a month, she created her first NFT on our games. So this is just one way that we've been like decentralizing that creation process and empowering creators. And another one that I want to talk about, this is more on the game side, where we're releasing this game called Soul Fusers, which is like a monster game. And these monsters are actually being co-created with the producers and the community members. So the community members are creating ideas for monsters and creating a sketch and posting it in the Discord groups.
That's sick.
And the ones that get chosen will get finalized and made into characters. And in the smart contract, the ID of the creator will be listed on there, their name, and also they'll get royalties for the monsters that they created. It's like, imagine being a fan,
cool.
right?
So
of like
cool.
Pokemon or something. And like you created one of the Pokemons back in the days and, it exists as a fan, right? Like that's something that's never been done. And I think I'm really excited about that. Yeah.
That's such a big value prop to get people in, like it's tough. There's so many hooks and pulls nowadays in every aspect of life. And that's like when you can bring someone in to an ecosystem in which they're passionate about and actually provide a very appeasing opportunity to join. That's just like, it's tough to turn down. I love that. That's so cool. Let's jump into Web3 gaming as a whole, sort of the, macro aspect. You guys have, onboarded a lot of non-gamers into the Web3 space. You guys have also chatted with a lot of famous artists and have got them into the Web3 space. AAA game developers, massive conglomerates. What do these conversations sound like? How are you guys bringing them in? Are there any, buzzwords or anything sticky that really gets them in the door?
Yes. For the AAA games, like we've talked to a lot in the past, but we're not working directly with them right now. I'd say that clearly. We've done like a lot of brainstorm sessions, gave them ideas of what we're doing, but it's been quite different of what they're trying to do as a AAA title, like existing game studio as well. So I think what we're going to be seeing in 2023 will be these mega game studios doing small like POC, proof of concepts of blockchain games. So you'll see them come up with something quick, fast to test out something, right? And then after that, we're estimating probably like in 2 years. So by 2025, they're going to go probably all in. It's still, there's no really AAA hit title blockchain game out there yet, created by the existing game studios. But some of the keywords like you mentioned are like blockchain games, NFTs, play and earn, play to earn. But I think from what I've heard, the bigger game studios aren't really focused on the play and earn aspect yet.
Right. But we're still mad early.
Yeah.
2025, Jeez, the floodgates will open. I mean, I'd love to see that. Tats, this has been a treat, man. This has been tons of fun. We always have a segment on the show called The Hot Take Factory. This is where you and I jump in, put our big old shit kicking boots on, and let a couple of hot takes fly. This doesn't have to be crypto related. It can be health, wealth, happiness, finance, space, AI, food, politics, sports, you name it. Give me a couple Tats hot takes that only you really believe in, whereas most other people do not.
Jeez, man, this is going to sound like, work related and like self-promotion related. But recently, the narrative I've been seeing and hearing around, the blockchain games is, the play to earn is dead, right? But like being the person in it, I still believe in it. I see it. The insights are there. A lot of non-gamers are coming into it. There's a lot of potential for play to earn. So my hot take, apologies that it's, work related, but I think it's that play to earn is the future. It's still early. It's going to be cracked. And I think a lot of the narrative right now that I want to put out too is that a lot of the narratives focus on the AAA titles, creating fun games. And, all AAA titles, yes, it's focused on existing gamers, right? Like hardcore gamers, mid-core gamers. And I think the growth for blockchain game and Web3 adoption is going to come from these non-gamers as well. There's big there's a big pie for targeting existing gamers, but at the same time, there's this different pie over here where there's going to be a lot of people looking for the casual and really easy to play and enjoy on a smaller scale. And I'm a firm believer in that. And I think that's our core target for play mining. And that's my hot take right now in what I'm doing. Yeah.
I agree with you in the sense that I do think there's definitely a future for play to earn, but I think the term, I don't like the term play to earn anymore because so many people, again, it's like in today's day and age, people don't do research anymore, right? They act on fear and greed. They act on emotion, on FOMO. They hear about this new play to earn phenomenon and they want to invest in projects. And there was, billions of dollars hundreds of billions of dollars that were lost, but, probably just in play to earn, maybe not hundreds of billions, but definitely billions or dozens of billions. The point I'm getting at, I prefer the term like play and potentially earn, where it's like even with the games that you guys are creating, earning isn't the main focus, right? It's having an incredible time within the ecosystem. And if you are a contributor to the economy and to the ecosystem, you will be able to earn, which is a treat and it incentivizes you joining the ecosystem. But me personally, I just don't like the term because, again, games, I feel like the primary aspect of games should always be fun. It should never be earning. Again, just nitpicking here, but that's my whole 2 cents on it. Agree with the biz model, and it definitely has a future. It's here to stay, but the term, I think it's too appeasing.
Yeah,
it doesn't quite tell the whole story.
It's like you got to grind to play. Like it doesn't work together in a way. I completely agree. I kind of use this synonymously, but play and earn is more of like the recent term that's more popular, I believe. Yeah, completely agree on your end too.
It's but again, it's just like, and I haven't played a whole lot this year, but last year when I was incredibly curious about the whole PDE phenomenon, like I did try a lot of games, and it's a unique phenomenon being able to click a couple buttons on your computer, play a game. And mind you, there were no real good games out last year, but and earn some of the company or ecosystem's native coin. It was just like, whoa. Imagine when I was younger, ripping Pokemon, or imagine like ripping COD, being able to buy something and trade, or and then obviously you have much more adaptive use cases like RuneScape, where people created offline marketplaces. And heck, there was even an in-game marketplace, but just super cool stuff. Tats, what a treat, man. Really appreciate you coming on. I know it's getting late for you in beautiful Singapore. But before we let you go, can you please let our listeners know where they can find you, Play Mining, and DEA online and on socials?
Yes. So for my social, you can find me on Twitter or LinkedIn, Tatsuya_Kohrogi. So it's TATSUYA_KOHROGI. And Play Mining, same on Twitter, Play Mining _SG. I guess maybe I could share the link to you. Maybe you can attach it, but
show notes for sure.
Yeah, so Twitter is the best to just kind of socialize and share info to each other. I'm quite active on Twitter and LinkedIn.
Tats, appreciate it, man. All the best, and can't wait for round 2 over the next couple months.
Sounds good, Matt. Thank you so much for having me.
Folks, what an episode with Tatsuya Kohrogi, the Chief Strategy Officer and Head of Global Business for DEA. Treat of an episode, learned a ton, and they are making moves out east in Japan, Singapore, and everywhere over there. What an episode. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, please do subscribe. It would mean the world to my team and I, and to the team. Love you guys. Eustace, you are the GOAT. Appreciate you as always. And to the listeners, guys, thank you so much for listening. Appreciate you. Keep on growing those bags and keep on staying healthy, wealthy, and happy. Bye for now, and we'll talk soon.